Welcome back to Soft Light Theory, a place where science speaks softly and healing begins with a breath. This is part of our series, Emotional Healing and Neuroscience, Gentle Ways to Rewire Your Mind, where we explore the deep connections between your brain, your body, and how you feel. If you've ever felt exhausted all day only to lie awake at night, if your body begs for rest, but your mind won't stop racing, if you've asked yourself, why am I always tired but can't sleep, you're not alone, and you're not broken. Tonight, we're exploring one of the most frustrating paradoxes, feeling exhausted and wired at the same time. Your body needs sleep, but when you lie down, sleep feels impossible. Your thoughts spin. Your body stays tense. The harder you try, the more awake you feel. Here's the truth. This isn't your fault. What you're experiencing is the anxiety-sleep connection, and tonight we'll gently uncover why this happens through neuroscience and the wisdom of your own nervous system. Before we begin, please subscribe to Channel Soft Light Theory. Where in the world are you listening from? Drop your location and time in the comments. This space is global, gentle, and yours. Now let's begin. With a breath. With the science of why you're tired but can't sleep, and how understanding this can finally help you rest. Breathe in slowly. Breathe out even slower. Let's discover what your body has been trying to tell you all along.
Chapter 1. The Paradox of Exhausted Wakefulness. Your body aches with tiredness. Your eyes are heavy, yet sleep stays distant, like a shore you can see but cannot reach. Tonight, we begin where exhaustion meets insomnia, in the strange space where your body wants rest, but your mind won't allow it. You've been tired all day, the kind of tired that settles into your bones, that makes your eyelids heavy during meetings, during conversations, during the quiet afternoon hours when the world feels slow and your body begs for rest. You tell yourself, tonight I'll sleep well. Tonight I'm so exhausted I'll fall asleep the moment my head touches the pillow. But then night arrives. You lie down, you close your eyes, you wait for sleep to come like you've been waiting all day. And it doesn't. Instead, your mind begins to move. Thoughts arrive uninvited. Your body, so heavy with exhaustion just moments ago, now feels restless, alert, uncomfortable in ways you can't quite name. You turn over, you adjust your pillow, you try to force yourself into stillness. But the harder you try to sleep, the more awake you feel. This is the paradox, the cruel contradiction that millions of people experience every night. You are exhausted, and you cannot sleep. Your body wants rest, but something inside you, something deeper, something more ancient, won't allow it. Let's pause here and breathe together. In through your nose, slowly, gently. Out through your mouth, longer, softer. Feel your chest rise and fall. Notice the weight of your body against the surface beneath you. You are here, in this moment, and in this moment, you are safe. But your body might not feel that way, and tonight we're going to understand why. This paradox, tired but unable to sleep, is not unusual. It's not a sign that something is deeply wrong with you. It's not evidence of failure or weakness. It's a signal, a message from your nervous system, a sign that somewhere inside you, the systems designed to regulate rest and wakefulness have become tangled, confused, overwhelmed. And at the heart of this tangle is anxiety. Anxiety doesn't just live in your thoughts. It lives in your body, in your nervous system, in the chemicals that flow through your blood, in the ancient survival mechanisms that have kept humans alive for millennia, but now keep you awake when you most need rest. Let's start with what exhaustion actually is. When you say you're tired, what you're describing is a complex physiological state. Your muscles ache because they've been working, holding tension, staying engaged. Your mind feels foggy because it's been processing, deciding, managing information all day. Inside your brain, a molecule called adenosine has been building up. Adenosine is like a gentle pressure that accumulates throughout your waking hours. The longer you're awake, the more adenosine accumulates, and the more it presses down on your consciousness, creating that heavy, drowsy feeling. This is your body's natural sleep pressure. It's designed to grow stronger throughout the day until eventually it becomes irresistible, until sleep is no longer a choice but an inevitability. But here's what anxiety does. It overrides this natural pressure. Even when adenosine has built up, even when your body is physiologically ready for sleep, your nervous system can still keep you awake if it believes, consciously or unconsciously, that it's not safe to rest. Think of your nervous system as a watchful guardian. Its primary job is to keep you alive, to scan for danger, to prepare you to respond to threats, to ensure that you're ready, alert, vigilant when needed. For most of human history, this guardian served you well. If there was danger nearby, a predator, a rival tribe, an unstable environment, falling asleep could mean death. Your ancestors who slept too deeply, who let their guard down too easily, didn't survive to pass on their genes. So evolution built caution into your system. It made your body capable of staying awake even when exhausted if the situation demanded it. But in the modern world, this system has become confused. Your nervous system can't always tell the difference between real danger and perceived danger, between a genuine threat and the worry spinning in your mind, between a predator in the shadows and the worry spinning in your mind. And so it keeps you awake, not because something is wrong with you, but because something inside you still believes you are not safe enough to rest. This is the heart of the paradox. Your body is ready for rest. The adenosine has built up. Your muscles are heavy. Your eyes want to close. But your nervous system, that ancient, protective, tireless guardian, is still on alert. It's still scanning, still listening, still waiting for the threat to pass. And until it feels safe, until it receives the signal that danger has subsided, it will not allow you to fall into the vulnerability of sleep.
This is why trying harder to sleep often makes it worse, because effort itself is a form of activation. It engages your sympathetic nervous system, the part of you designed for action, for doing, for solving problems. But sleep cannot be solved. It cannot be achieved through effort. It can only be allowed. And allowing requires safety, ease, the quiet confidence that nothing bad will happen if you let go. Here's what makes this even more complicated. The exhaustion you feel during the day isn't just physical tiredness. It's not just from lack of sleep the night before. It's also nervous system fatigue. When you live with anxiety, your body is working constantly. Even when you're sitting still, even when you're trying to rest, your nervous system is active. It's monitoring threats. It's staying vigilant. It's holding tension in your muscles, scanning your environment, preparing for dangers that might never come. This invisible work is exhausting. It drains your energy in ways that aren't obvious. And by the time night arrives, you're not just tired from the day's activities, you're tired from the constant, invisible labor of staying on guard. But that same vigilance that exhausts you during the day is the same force that keeps you awake at night. Your body is too tired to function well, but too activated to rest. This is the cruel efficiency of chronic anxiety. It traps you in a state where you're always exhausted, but never truly rested. Breathe with me again, slowly, gently. In through your nose, let the air fill your lungs completely. Out through your mouth, let the breath carry away what you don't need to hold. Notice if there's tension anywhere in your body, your jaw, your shoulders, your belly. You don't have to fix it. Just notice it. Acknowledge it. This tension is part of the story we're exploring together. So when you lie awake at night, exhausted but unable to sleep, know this: you are not broken. Your body is not betraying you. Your mind is not failing you. You are caught in a paradox, a conflict between two essential systems, one that knows you need rest and one that believes you cannot afford it. Your body is tired because it has been working too hard for too long, carrying the invisible weight of vigilance, of worry, of preparing for threats that may never arrive. And your mind won't let you sleep because some part of you, ancient, protective, deeply afraid, still doesn't trust that it's safe to let go. This is not your fault. This is not weakness. This is your nervous system doing what it was designed to do, but in a world it was never designed for. And understanding this, truly understanding it, is the first step toward untangling the knot. Because once you know why you're tired but can't sleep, you can begin to address not just the symptom, but the deeper patterns beneath it. And those patterns begin with two forces inside you, locked in a quiet battle, one trying to keep you awake, and one trying to let you rest.
Chapter 2. The Two Systems Fighting for Control. Inside you, two forces wage a quiet war. One whispers, "Rest." The other shouts, "Stay alert." Your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems, meant to work in harmony, are stuck in disagreement. Let's meet these two guardians and understand why they can't agree on when it's safe to sleep. Imagine two people trying to drive the same car. One presses the accelerator, insisting you need to move faster, stay ready, keep going. The other presses the brake, saying it's time to slow down, to stop, to rest. Both have good intentions. Both are trying to help you. But when they work against each other, the car lurches forward and backward, never quite moving smoothly, never quite stopping completely. This is what's happening inside you when you're exhausted but can't sleep. Two systems, both essential, both designed to keep you alive, are fighting for control. And until they can agree, rest remains impossible. Let's meet these two forces. The first is your sympathetic nervous system. This is the accelerator, the activator, the part of you that responds to challenge, to demand, to perceived danger. When the sympathetic system engages, your body shifts into a state of readiness. Your heart beats faster, your breath quickens, your pupils dilate to take in more light. Blood flows away from your digestive system and toward your muscles, preparing you to move, to act, to respond. This is the system that kept your ancestors alive, the system that said, "Run from the predator, fight the rival, stay alert in the storm." It's not designed for calm, it's designed for survival. The second force is your parasympathetic nervous system. This is the brake, the rest and digest system, the part of you that activates when danger passes and safety returns. When the parasympathetic system engages, everything slows. Your heart rate drops, your breathing deepens, blood returns to your digestive organs, your muscles soften, your mind quiets. This is the system that says it's safe now, you can rest, you can heal, you can let go. In a healthy, balanced nervous system, these two forces work together like dancers: activation when needed, rest when safe, back and forth, responding to the rhythm of your day. But when anxiety becomes chronic, this balance breaks down. Here's what happens. Your sympathetic nervous system, designed to activate in moments of acute danger, becomes stuck in the on position. It's like a smoke alarm that never stops ringing, even when the fire is out, even when there's no smoke. It just keeps sounding over and over, insisting that something is wrong. And when the sympathetic system stays active, it doesn't matter how tired you are. It doesn't matter how much adenosine has built up in your brain. It doesn't matter that your body desperately needs sleep, because to your nervous system, staying awake is a matter of survival. Your parasympathetic system is trying to help. It's whispering, slow down, rest, it's safe now. But the sympathetic system is louder. It's shouting, no, stay alert, watch, wait, we can't afford to let our guard down. And so you lie there, caught between these two forces, your body pulled in opposite directions, exhausted but unable to surrender. Let's go deeper into why this happens. Your sympathetic nervous system responds not just to real threats, but to perceived threats. And in the modern world, perceived threats are everywhere. The email you didn't send, the conversation you replayed in your mind, the deadline looming tomorrow, the fear of what might go wrong, the uncertainty of the future. None of these are predators. None of them require you to run or fight, but to your sympathetic nervous system, they feel just as urgent, just as dangerous. And so it activates, it keeps you ready, it refuses to let you rest, because in its ancient logic, rest means vulnerability. The problem is these modern threats never fully resolve. They linger, they multiply, they follow you from day into night. And your sympathetic system, faithful guardian that it is, stays on duty, stays vigilant, stays activated. Meanwhile, your parasympathetic system can't gain ground. It tries to slow your heart, to deepen your breath, to signal that it's safe to sleep, but it's overpowered, overridden, unable to do its job because the sympathetic system won't step aside. There's a key player in this struggle that we need to understand, the vagus nerve. This is the longest nerve in your autonomic nervous system. It travels from your brainstem down through your body, connecting your brain to your heart, your lungs, your digestive system, and more.
The vagus nerve is like a messenger carrying signals between your brain and your body, and it plays a crucial role in activating your parasympathetic nervous system, in helping you calm down, rest, and recover. When your vagus nerve is functioning well, it acts like a gentle hand on your nervous system, soothing the activation, bringing you back to baseline. But when stress is chronic, when anxiety is constant, the vagus nerve can become less effective. Its ability to calm your system weakens. It's like a messenger trying to deliver a message of peace in the middle of a war zone. The message gets lost in the noise. This is called low vagal tone, and it's one reason why some people struggle more than others to shift from wakefulness to sleep. Their parasympathetic system isn't broken, it's just overwhelmed, outmatched, unable to compete with the relentless activation of the sympathetic system. Breathe with me now. Let's try to wake up that vagus nerve to give your parasympathetic system a little help. In through your nose, slowly, deeply. Fill your lungs completely. Hold for just a moment. Out through your mouth, even slower than the inhale. Let the breath be long, soft, complete. This kind of breathing, slow, deep, with a longer exhale, is one of the most powerful ways to activate your parasympathetic nervous system. It sends a signal through your vagus nerve to your brain. We're safe. We can slow down. We can rest. Your sympathetic system might not believe it immediately. It might keep pressing the accelerator. But with each slow breath, the message becomes clearer. And slowly, gradually, the brake begins to engage. So when you lie in bed, exhausted but unable to sleep, what you're experiencing is this internal conflict. One system saying, sleep now, you need this, your body is ready. The other system saying, no, not yet, it's not safe, stay awake, stay ready. and you, caught in the middle, feeling the exhaustion of one and the activation of the other, unable to surrender to either. This is why simply telling yourself to relax doesn't work, why trying to force sleep only makes it worse, why all the logic in the world can't override what your nervous system believes to be true. Because this isn't happening in your thinking brain, it's happening in your autonomic nervous system, the part of you that operates below consciousness, responding to signals you can't consciously control. But here's what you need to know. This conflict is not permanent. Your nervous system can learn, it can adapt, it can be retrained to recognize safety, to trust rest, to allow the parasympathetic system to do its job. It takes time, it takes patience, it takes consistent signals that say it's okay to let go. Nothing bad will happen if you rest. But it is possible. And the first step is understanding that you're not fighting yourself. You're not weak or broken. You're experiencing a dysregulation, a mismatch between what your body needs and what your nervous system believes is safe. Your sympathetic system is doing what it was designed to do, protect you. It's just doing it too much, too often, in situations where protection is no longer needed. And your parasympathetic system is trying to help. It's just being overpowered by a louder, more persistent voice. So tonight, as you rest, know this. The battle inside you is real. The two systems pulling in opposite directions are both trying to serve you, both trying to keep you alive. But somewhere along the way, the balance was lost. The accelerator got stuck, the brake weakened, and now, even when you desperately need rest, your body won't allow it. This is the story of so many sleepless nights, not a failure of willpower, not a character flaw, but a nervous system caught in a pattern it learned long ago, a pattern that once kept you safe, but now keeps you awake. And to understand why this pattern is so hard to break, we need to explore what happens in your brain when it forgets how to power down, when the natural transition from wakefulness to sleep becomes disrupted, leaving you stranded in a state that feels like neither.
Chapter 3. When your brain forgets how to power down. Sleep is not something you do, it's something you allow. But anxiety has taught your brain to stay vigilant, to watch, to wait. Tonight, we'll explore what happens when your brain loses its ability to transition from wakefulness to rest, and why trying harder only makes it worse. Think of sleep as a doorway. On one side, there's wakefulness, the bright, active, thinking part of your day. On the other side, there's sleep, the deep, quiet, restorative state your body needs. Most people walk through this doorway naturally, almost effortlessly. The transition happens so smoothly they barely notice it. One moment they're awake, the next they're drifting, and then they're asleep. But for you, the doorway has become difficult to find. Or perhaps you find it, but you can't walk through. You stand at the threshold, exhausted, desperate to cross, but something holds you back. You try harder, you push, you force yourself towards sleep, and the doorway moves further away. This is what happens when your brain forgets how to power down, when the natural transition from wakefulness to sleep becomes disrupted, when effort, the very thing you think will help, becomes the obstacle. Let's understand what sleep actually is. Sleep is not the opposite of wakefulness. It's not simply your brain turning off, like flipping a light switch. Sleep is an active process, a carefully orchestrated transition involving multiple brain regions, chemical signals, and neural networks shifting into different states. Your brain doesn't shut down when you sleep. It changes modes. It moves from one kind of activity to another, from the fast, alert, problem-solving state of wakefulness to the slow, rhythmic, restorative state of sleep. And this transition requires something crucial: letting go. You cannot force yourself to sleep. You cannot decide to sleep the way you decide to stand up or raise your hand. Sleep happens when you stop trying, when you surrender, when you allow your brain to release its grip on wakefulness and drift into the vulnerability of rest. But anxiety makes this surrender feel impossible, even dangerous. Here's what anxiety does to your brain's sleep system. In a healthy brain, as the day progresses, certain signals build up that promote sleepiness. Adenosine accumulates. Melatonin begins to rise as darkness falls. Your body temperature drops slightly. Your brain waves slow. These signals work together to create what's called sleep pressure, the gentle, growing need for rest that eventually becomes irresistible. At the same time, the systems that keep you alert and awake begin to quiet down. The arousal centers in your brain, the parts that keep you vigilant, focused, ready to respond, gradually reduce their activity. This is the natural transition: wakefulness fading, sleep pressure building, until finally you cross the threshold. But when anxiety is present, this process is disrupted. The arousal centers in your brain, particularly an area called the locus coeruleus, which releases a chemical called norepinephrine, stay active. They refuse to quiet down. Norepinephrine is the chemical of alertness, of vigilance, of staying ready. And when your brain keeps releasing it, even as sleep pressure builds, you become stuck in a state of paradox. Your body wants to sleep, but your brain insists on staying awake. There's another part of your brain that plays a crucial role here: the prefrontal cortex. This is the thinking, planning, problem-solving part of your brain, the part that analyzes, decides, worries about tomorrow. In a natural sleep transition, the prefrontal cortex gradually quiets. Its activity decreases. It stops trying to control, to solve, to manage. This quieting is essential because sleep requires a release of conscious control, a willingness to stop thinking, stop planning, stop monitoring. But anxiety keeps your prefrontal cortex engaged. It keeps you thinking, analyzing, reviewing the day, predicting tomorrow, searching for problems, for dangers, for things you might have forgotten. And as long as your prefrontal cortex is active, as long as you're still thinking, you cannot fully transition into sleep.
This is why lying in bed and thinking about how to fall asleep doesn't work, because thinking itself is the problem. The act of trying to solve the problem of sleeplessness keeps you in the very state you're trying to escape. Let's talk about what happens when you try harder to sleep. You tell yourself, I need to sleep, I have to sleep. If I don't sleep tonight, tomorrow will be terrible. This thought creates pressure, urgency, a sense of threat. And what does threat do? It activates your sympathetic nervous system. It releases stress hormones. It engages the very arousal centers you're trying to quiet. So now, on top of the anxiety that was already keeping you awake, you've added performance anxiety about sleep itself. You're monitoring yourself, checking, am I falling asleep yet? Is it working? Why isn't it working? Each time you check, you pull yourself back toward wakefulness, like someone trying to fall asleep but constantly opening their eyes to see if they're asleep yet. This is called sleep effort, and it's one of the most common patterns in chronic insomnia. The harder you try, the more awake you become. The more you monitor, the further sleep retreats. Because sleep is not a goal to achieve, it's a state to allow. And allowing requires trust, patience, the willingness to stop trying. Breathe with me for a moment. In through your nose, soft and slow. Out through your mouth. Let it be effortless. Notice what happens when you stop trying to control your breath, when you simply let it move through you, without forcing, without managing. It continues, naturally, easily. This is the essence of sleep. Not doing, but allowing. Not controlling, but surrendering. But your brain, trained by anxiety, has forgotten this. It's learned to stay in control, to stay vigilant, to never fully let go. And unlearning this pattern takes time. It takes patience. It takes countless small moments of practicing surrender, of releasing effort, of trusting that rest will come when you stop chasing it. So when you lie awake, frustrated that sleep won't come, understand this. Your brain hasn't broken. It hasn't forgotten how to sleep permanently. It's simply learned a different pattern, a pattern of vigilance, of effort, of staying alert even when exhausted. This pattern was created for a reason, maybe to protect you during difficult times, maybe to help you survive periods of genuine stress or danger. But now that pattern has outlived its usefulness. It's keeping you awake when you desperately need rest. It's making the natural transition to sleep feel impossible. And the way back to sleep is not through more effort, not through trying harder, not through forcing yourself to relax. The way back is through understanding, through gentle, patient retraining of your nervous system, through learning to recognize the difference between real danger and the echo of old fears, and through recognizing that sometimes the very thing keeping you awake isn't just your thoughts or your worries, it's the invisible chemistry moving through your blood, the molecules that govern when you wake and when you sleep, and how anxiety disrupts their delicate dance.
Chapter 4. The Racing Mind at Bedtime.
The moment your head touches the pillow, your thoughts come alive. Worries you ignored all day suddenly demand attention. Your mind reviews, replays, predicts. This is not random. This is your brain trying to process what it couldn't during the day. Let's understand why nighttime awakens thought. All day you've been busy, moving from task to task, responding to demands, making decisions, keeping yourself occupied, distracted, engaged with the external world. Your worries have been there, hovering at the edges of your awareness, but you've managed to push them aside, to tell them, not now, later. I don't have time for this right now. And they've waited, patiently, quietly. But then, night arrives. You lie down. The world goes quiet. The distractions fade. There's nothing left to occupy your attention. And suddenly, all those thoughts you postponed come rushing in. The conversation you keep replaying, the decision you're not sure about, the worry about tomorrow, the thing you forgot to do, the fear that won't name itself but sits heavy in your chest. Your mind, which should be winding down, is instead winding up, racing, spinning, refusing to rest. And you wonder, why now? Why, when I finally have the chance to sleep, does my mind become so loud? Here's what you need to understand. This is not random. This is not your mind sabotaging you. This is your brain doing what it's designed to do, process, integrate, and make sense of your experiences. During the day, your brain is in task mode. It's focused outward, on the world around you, on the things you need to do, the problems you need to solve, the people you need to interact with. There's little space for reflection, for deep processing, for sitting with the emotions and uncertainties that arise throughout the day. So your brain files them away. It creates a mental to-do list of things that need attention, not tasks you need to complete, but emotional and cognitive tasks, things that need to be thought about, felt, understood, resolved. And when does your brain try to address this list? When you finally stop, when the external demands quiet down, when there's space. At night, in the dark, when you're trying to sleep. There's a part of your brain called the default mode network, or DMN. This network becomes active when you're not focused on external tasks, when you're daydreaming, reflecting, letting your mind wander. The DMN is where your brain does its integrative work. It connects memories. It processes emotions. It makes sense of experiences. It thinks about yourself, your relationships, your future. During the day, when you're busy, the DMN is relatively quiet. Your brain is engaged with task-focused networks instead. But at night, when you lie down and close your eyes, the task-focused networks begin to quiet, and the DMN becomes active. Your brain shifts from external focus to internal focus, from doing mode to processing mode. And if there's unprocessed material from the day, worries, conflicts, decisions you didn't have time to fully feel, the DMN brings them forward. This is why your thoughts race at bedtime. Your brain is trying to complete the work it couldn't do during the day. Let's talk about worry specifically. Worry is your brain's attempt to prepare for the future, to anticipate problems, to plan solutions, to gain a sense of control over uncertainty. In small doses, worry is useful. It helps you think ahead. It motivates you to take action. But anxiety transforms worry into something different, something compulsive, something that loops endlessly without resolution. At night, when your brain shifts into processing mode, worry arrives with force, because the future, tomorrow, next week, next year, is uncertain, and your brain, trying to protect you, wants to eliminate that uncertainty. So it runs scenarios. What if this happens? What if that goes wrong? What if I'm not ready? It replays conversations, searching for mistakes. Did I say the wrong thing? Did they misunderstand me? Are they upset with me? It reviews decisions, questioning your choices. Should I have done that differently? What if I regret this? What if there was a better option? Your brain believes this mental work is helpful, that by thinking through every possibility, every angle, every potential problem, it can keep you safe. But worry at night rarely leads to solutions. It leads to more worry. Because in the quiet, in the dark, with no external feedback, your mind has nothing to anchor to except its own fears.
There's another reason thoughts intensify at night. Your prefrontal cortex begins to tire. The prefrontal cortex is the rational, logical, perspective-taking part of your brain. It's the part that says, this worry isn't realistic. Things will probably be fine. I don't need to figure this out right now. During the day, even if you're anxious, your prefrontal cortex can provide some regulation, some perspective, some ability to step back from the worry and see it for what it is. But at night, as you become tired, the prefrontal cortex weakens. Its ability to regulate emotion and thought decreases. Meanwhile, the emotional centers of your brain, particularly the amygdala, remain active. So now you have strong emotions, urgent worries, and less ability to put them in perspective. The balance shifts. The worries feel bigger, more real, more threatening. This is why things that seem manageable during the day can feel overwhelming at 2 a.m. It's not that the problems have changed, it's that your brain's ability to regulate your response to them has temporarily diminished. Breathe with me now. Let's give your prefrontal cortex a moment to re-engage. In through your nose, slow and steady. Out through your mouth. Let the breath be gentle. As you breathe, imagine your thoughts as clouds passing across the sky, each one real, each one present, but none of them permanent, none of them solid. You don't have to solve them. You don't have to engage with them. You can simply watch them drift by. So when your mind races at bedtime, understand this. Your brain is not broken. It's not attacking you. It's trying to help. It's trying to process the day, to prepare for tomorrow, to protect you from uncertainty and danger. But the method it's using, rumination, worry, endless mental loops, isn't actually helpful. It doesn't solve problems, it doesn't reduce anxiety, it only keeps you awake.
And the more you engage with the thoughts, the more you try to think your way through them, the more activated your brain becomes. Because thinking is a form of mental activity, and mental activity is the opposite of what you need for sleep. Sleep requires release, letting go, a willingness to stop processing, stop planning, stop trying to control. But your brain, loyal and protective, doesn't trust that it's safe to stop. It believes that if it stops watching, stops preparing, stops worrying, something bad will happen. There's a term in sleep science for this: cognitive arousal. It's the state of having a mentally active mind when your body is trying to rest, and it's one of the strongest predictors of insomnia. Cognitive arousal isn't about how busy your day was or how many tasks you completed. It's about how much unresolved mental and emotional content you're carrying. The more unprocessed worry, the more unresolved conflict, the more uncertainty you're holding, the louder your mind becomes at night. Because your brain sees nighttime as its opportunity to finally address all of this, to sort through it, to make sense of it. But without the external structure of the day, without the distractions and demands, this processing becomes overwhelming, chaotic, endless. And sleep, which requires a quiet mind, becomes impossible. So what does your racing mind need? Not more thinking, not more analyzing, not solutions to every worry that arises. It needs acknowledgement. It needs to be heard without being engaged. It needs you to say, "I see you, I know you're trying to help, but we don't need to do this right now." It needs space to process during the day so it doesn't have to do all the work at night. It needs the safety to stop watching, stop preparing, stop holding everything together. But that safety can feel impossible when your nervous system has learned that nighttime itself is not safe, when darkness, vulnerability, and the loss of control that sleep requires feel like threats rather than invitations to rest.
Chapter 5. Your body's ancient fear of darkness. Long ago, nighttime meant vulnerability. Predators hunted in shadow. Safety required vigilance. Though the world has changed, your nervous system remembers. Sometimes your inability to sleep is an echo of ancient survival. Your body refusing rest because some part of you still doesn't feel safe in the dark. Imagine your ancestors, thousands of years ago, huddled around a fire as darkness fell. The daylight offered visibility, safety, the ability to see threats approaching from a distance. But night brought shadow, uncertainty, dangers that could not be seen until they were close, too close. In that world, sleep was a risk, a necessary vulnerability. And those who survived were the ones who could wake quickly at the slightest sound, who slept lightly, who never fully let their guard down. Your body carries that ancient memory still. Even though you live in a world with locks on doors, with light switches within reach, with no predators lurking outside your window, some part of your nervous system doesn't know that. Some part of you still believes that darkness means danger, that vulnerability means threat, that sleep, that deep surrender, is a risk you cannot afford to take. And so, even when you're exhausted, even when you desperately need rest, your body refuses. It stays alert. It keeps watching. It will not let you fall into the darkness. Let's go back in time for a moment. Let's understand what nighttime meant for your ancestors. During the day, humans had advantages: vision, the ability to see predators, to coordinate as a group, to move safely through the environment. But at night, those advantages disappeared. Predators with better night vision, cats, wolves, bears, had the upper hand. Darkness leveled the playing field, and not in humanity's favor. Sleep was necessary for survival. The body needed rest to function,
to heal, to have energy for the next day. But sleep also meant unconsciousness. It meant losing awareness of your surroundings. It meant becoming prey. So evolution found a balance. Humans developed the ability to sleep, but not too deeply, to rest but remain partially aware, to wake at the slightest disturbance. And critically, humans learned to sleep in groups. Safety came not from individual vigilance, but from collective vigilance. While some slept deeply, others stayed alert. They took turns. They protected each other. This is why even now you sleep better when you feel safe, when someone you trust is nearby, when you're not alone in the dark, because your nervous system still operates on this ancient logic. Vulnerability is only safe when you're not alone. But in the modern world, many of us sleep alone, in separate rooms, in quiet houses, with no one nearby to watch while we rest. And our nervous system, that ancient guardian, notices this. It registers the isolation, the solitude, the vulnerability, and it whispers, "It's not safe. Stay alert. Don't let go completely." This isn't a conscious thought. You don't lie in bed thinking, "I'm afraid a predator will attack." But the feeling is there, the unease, the vigilance, the sense that something isn't quite right. Your rational mind knows you're safe, but your nervous system operates on older information, on patterns learned over millions of years, and those patterns say nighttime plus aloneness equals danger. There's a specific part of your brain that monitors safety and threat, particularly in relation to social connection. It's connected to the polyvagal system we've discussed before, and it's constantly assessing, am I safe? Am I alone? Am I vulnerable? When this system detects that you're safe, that you're with others, that you're protected, that the environment is secure, it allows your body to relax, to shift into the parasympathetic state that enables deep rest. But when it detects isolation, uncertainty, or potential threat, it keeps your body in a state of readiness, just in case. This is why some people can fall asleep easily when traveling with a partner, but struggle when alone. Why a child sleeps better when a parent is nearby. Why the presence of another person, even just knowing they're in the next room, can make sleep feel more accessible.
It's not weakness. It's not dependency. It's an ancient survival mechanism that says safety is a collective experience, not an individual one. Now, let's talk about darkness itself. Darkness should trigger sleep. That's how the circadian rhythm works. As light fades, melatonin rises, signaling that it's time to rest. But for some people, darkness doesn't feel like an invitation to sleep. It feels like a threat. Not because of rational fear, not because they believe something bad will actually happen, but because darkness removes information. You can't see what's around you. You can't monitor your environment. You lose control. And for a nervous system that's already on high alert, that's already scanning for danger, this loss of control is intolerable. So it keeps you awake. It keeps your senses engaged. It keeps you monitoring sounds, shadows, the feeling of vulnerability that comes with not being able to see. This is particularly true if you've ever experienced something frightening or traumatic at night. If nighttime has ever been associated with feeling unsafe, unprotected, or alone in a moment when you needed help. Because your nervous system stores these associations, and every night, as darkness returns, it remembers. Not consciously, but in the body, in the tension, in the refusal to let go. Breathe with me now. Let's soften this ancient fear just a little. In through your nose. Feel the air enter, cool and steady. Out through your mouth. Let the breath be warm, soft, releasing. Imagine as you breathe that you're surrounded by warmth, by presence, by an invisible circle of safety. You are not alone in the evolutionary sense. You carry with you the protection of everyone who came before you, everyone who survived the darkness so that you could be here now. You are safe, in this moment, in this breath. So when you lie awake at night, when your body refuses to sleep despite your exhaustion, consider this possibility. Your inability to rest might not be about the thoughts in your mind or the stress of your day. It might be about something deeper, older, more primal. It might be your nervous system, still operating on ancient programming, still scanning for predators that no longer exist, still refusing to surrender to the vulnerability of sleep because some part of you doesn't believe it's safe. This doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're human. It means your body is still trying to protect you the way it protected your ancestors, by staying alert in the dark, by refusing to let go when it doesn't feel safe. But here's the truth that your nervous system hasn't learned yet. The world has changed. The dangers are different now, and the vigilance that once saved lives now only steals sleep. The darkness is not full of predators. The night is not the enemy. And rest, that deep, surrendering rest your body needs, is not a risk, it's a necessity. But learning this, teaching your nervous system this new truth, requires more than logic. It requires experience, repetition, a slow accumulation of nights where you rest and nothing bad happens, where you let go and wake up safe. And yet, even with this understanding, even when you try to rest, something keeps pulling you back. A thought, a worry, a loop that won't stop spinning. Because insomnia isn't just about fear of the dark or ancient instincts. It's also about what happens when worry about sleep itself becomes the very thing that prevents it. And that's the cycle we must explore next.
Chapter 6. The Cycle That Feeds Itself. You can't sleep, so you worry about not sleeping. That worry keeps you awake. The next night, you fear it will happen again, and that fear ensures it does. This is the insomnia loop, where anxiety about sleep becomes the very thing preventing it. Tonight, we'll watch this cycle with gentle understanding. You had one bad night. Maybe it was stress. Maybe it was something you ate. Maybe it was just a random disruption in your sleep architecture, the kind that happens to everyone occasionally. You woke up tired the next day, a little foggy, a little off. But it was just one night, and you told yourself, tonight will be better. Tonight I'll sleep. But when night came, something new was present, a quiet worry, a thought hovering at the edges of your awareness. What if I can't sleep again? And that thought, small as it was, changed everything. Because now you weren't just lying down to rest, you were lying down with expectation, with fear, with vigilance. And the more you watched for sleep, the more you worried about whether it would come, the further away it moved. That was the night the cycle began, the night anxiety about sleep became part of your sleep problem. And once that cycle starts, it becomes incredibly difficult to stop. Let's understand how this loop works. The cycle begins with a night of poor sleep. This can happen for many reasons: stress, illness, a disrupted schedule, environmental factors. Often, the initial cause is temporary. But the next night, you bring something new to bed with you: anticipatory anxiety. You're no longer just trying to sleep. You're trying not to repeat last night's experience. You're monitoring yourself, checking, am I falling asleep yet? Is this working? How much time has passed? And monitoring is the opposite of surrendering. Checking is the opposite of letting go. So sleep, which requires release, becomes even more elusive. Now you've had 2 bad nights, and the pattern is starting to form. Your brain, which is excellent at detecting patterns, begins to predict this is happening again. This might keep happening. The 3rd night, the anxiety is stronger. You might even dread bedtime. You might delay going to bed, hoping that if you're tired enough, sleep will be unavoidable. But exhaustion alone cannot override vigilance, and the fear of sleeplessness is now actively keeping you awake. This is how insomnia becomes chronic, not because the original problem persists, but because worry about insomnia becomes the new problem. There's a term for this in sleep medicine: psychophysiological insomnia. It means that your insomnia is maintained not by external factors, but internal psychological and physiological responses to the idea of not sleeping. Your body has learned to associate the bed, the bedroom, the act of lying down with wakefulness, with struggle, with frustration. Instead of the bed being a cue for rest, it becomes a cue for arousal, for activation, for the anxiety response. Your heart rate increases when you climb into bed. Your mind starts racing before your head even touches the pillow. Your body tenses in anticipation of another difficult night. This is classical conditioning, the same process that taught Pavlov's dogs to salivate at the sound of a bell has taught your nervous system to activate at the sight of your own bed. And once this association forms, it reinforces itself. Every difficult night strengthens the connection between bed and wakefulness. Every night you lie awake worrying makes the pattern more automatic. Let's look at the thoughts that fuel this cycle. I have to sleep tonight. If I don't sleep, tomorrow will be terrible.
This thought creates pressure, urgency, a sense that sleep is not just something you need, but something you must achieve. And what happens when something feels urgent, when there's pressure, when failure has consequences? Your sympathetic nervous system activates, stress hormones release. Your body shifts into the very state that makes sleep impossible. So now you're lying in bed, exhausted, with your body in fight or flight mode, tired and wired at the same time. Another thought arrives. It's been an hour. I should be asleep by now. Something is wrong. Now you're frustrated, maybe angry at yourself, maybe despairing. And these emotions, frustration, anger, despair, are all activating. They all engage the emotional centers of your brain, the stress response, the arousal systems. Sleep moves further away. You check the clock. It's 2 a.m. If I fall asleep now, I'll only get 5 hours. That's not enough. Tomorrow is ruined. And now you're doing mental math, calculating, planning how you'll survive tomorrow on minimal sleep, anticipating how tired you'll be. All of this is mental activity, and mental activity is incompatible with sleep. But here's what makes this cycle so cruel. The more you care about sleeping, the harder it becomes. If you could simply not care, if you could lie in bed and think, I don't mind if I sleep or not, your nervous system would relax, the pressure would dissolve. But when you're exhausted, when you know you need sleep, when you're worried about how tomorrow will go if you don't rest, you can't not care. The stakes feel too high, the need feels too urgent. And so the cycle continues. Your need for sleep creates anxiety about sleep. That anxiety prevents sleep. The lack of sleep increases the need, which increases the anxiety, round and round, night after night. This is the paradox at the heart of insomnia. The harder you try to sleep, the more awake you become. Breathe with me now. Let's step out of the cycle for just a moment. In through your nose, let the breath be effortless. Out through your mouth. Let go of trying, of monitoring, of checking. Notice what it feels like to simply breathe without a bowl, without needing the breath to accomplish anything, without judging whether you're breathing right or enough. This is what sleep needs, not effort, not vigilance, just allowing. There's another layer to this cycle that we need to understand: safety signals. In a healthy sleep system, certain cues signal safety and rest: the bed, the pillow, the darkness, the routine of winding down. These cues tell your nervous system, this is the place where we rest. This is the time when we let go. This is safe. But in the insomnia cycle, these cues become associated with struggle, with frustration, with the anxiety of sleeplessness. So the very things that should help you sleep now trigger wakefulness. You see your bed and your body tenses. You notice the time and your mind starts calculating. You turn off the lights and your thoughts begin racing. The signals have been reversed. Safety cues have become threat cues. And your nervous system, responding to these signals, prepares for danger, for struggle, for another long night of wakefulness. So when you lie awake, caught in this cycle, understand this. You are not failing. You are not weak. You are not doing something wrong. You are experiencing a feedback loop, a pattern that your brain and body have learned through repetition. The worry about not sleeping creates the physiological state that prevents sleep. The prevention of sleep reinforces the worry, and the cycle perpetuates itself. But here's what you need to know. Cycles can be interrupted. Patterns can be unlearned. Not through force, not through trying harder, but through gently, patiently changing the signals, through breaking the associations, through teaching your nervous system that the bed is not a place of struggle, but a place of rest. This takes time, it takes consistency, and it begins with understanding that sometimes the reason you can't sleep has nothing to do with being tired enough or needing sleep enough. Sometimes the very act of trying to rest feels dangerous to a nervous system that has learned to equate vulnerability with threat. And that's the deeper fear we must now explore.
Chapter 7. When Rest Feels Dangerous. For some, sleep feels like surrender, like losing control, like vulnerability. If your nervous system has learned that letting your guard down is unsafe, it will resist rest with everything it has. Let's explore why relaxation can feel threatening and what your body needs to feel safe enough to sleep. There's a kind of insomnia that isn't about racing thoughts or chemical imbalances or learned patterns. It's deeper than that, more primal. It's the insomnia that comes when rest itself feels like a threat, when relaxation triggers alarm, when the very act of letting go feels dangerous to a nervous system that has learned through experience that vulnerability is not safe. For some people, sleep is easy, natural, a doorway they walk through without resistance. But for others, sleep feels like falling, like losing grip, like surrendering control in a world that has taught them control is the only thing keeping them safe. And so their body refuses, not consciously, not deliberately, but with a deep, wordless resistance that says, I cannot let go, not here, not now, maybe not ever. Tonight, we explore this fear, this ancient protective refusal to rest. Let's start with what sleep really is from the perspective of your nervous system. Sleep is a state of profound vulnerability. When you sleep, you lose conscious awareness. You stop monitoring your environment. You cannot respond to threats. You are, in the most fundamental sense, defenseless. For most people, this vulnerability is acceptable because their nervous system has learned through experience that sleep is safe, that nothing bad happens when they let go, that they can trust the world to hold them while they rest. But if your nervous system has learned something different, if it has learned that letting your guard down leads to harm, then sleep becomes terrifying. Not rationally, not in a way you can talk yourself out of, but in the body, in the deep, automatic responses that govern whether your system allows rest or keeps you vigilant. This pattern often begins in childhood. Imagine a child who learns that nighttime is when bad things happen, when parents fight, when unpredictability reigns, when no one is there to respond if they're scared. Or a child who learns that they must stay alert to monitor a parent's mood, to sense danger, to protect themselves or a sibling. That child's nervous system learns vigilance is survival, relaxation is risk. And even when that child grows up, even when the circumstances change, even when they're finally somewhere safe, the nervous system still operates on that old programming. It still believes that letting go means danger, that rest means vulnerability, that sleep is something you cannot afford. This isn't a conscious belief. It's not something you can reason with. It's encoded in the autonomic nervous system, in the patterns of arousal and shutdown that were formed long before you had words to describe them. Let's talk about what happens when you try to relax, but your nervous system resists. You lie down, you close your eyes, you try to soften your body, to release the tension, to invite rest. And instead of softening, you feel a surge, a spike of anxiety, a sudden alertness that feels like alarm. Your heart rate increases, your breath quickens, your muscles tighten. It's as if your body is saying, "No, not this. Stay alert. This is dangerous." But nothing external has changed. You're in a safe place. The room is quiet. There's no threat. So why does relaxation feel like danger? Because to your nervous system, relaxation means you're not watching anymore. You're not monitoring. You're not ready. And if you're not ready, something bad might happen, just like it did before, just like it might again. This is called hypervigilance, and it's one of the core features of trauma responses and chronic anxiety. Your nervous system has become stuck in a state of constant watchfulness. It cannot downregulate. It cannot shift into the parasympathetic state that allows rest. And when you try to force it, when you try to relax through willpower or breathing or positive thinking, it resists even harder. Because force feels like threat, and threat activates the very systems you're trying to calm. There's another aspect to this, the fear of losing control. For some people, control is how they manage anxiety, how they create a sense of safety in a world that feels unpredictable. They control their environment, their schedule, their thoughts, their responses. And as long as they maintain control, they can function, they can move through the day. But sleep requires letting go. It requires surrendering to an unconscious state where you're no longer managing, no longer monitoring, no longer directing what happens. And for someone whose safety has always depended on control, that surrender feels impossible, intolerable, dangerous. So they stay awake, not because they're not tired, but because staying awake means staying in control.
And control, however exhausting, feels safer than the vulnerability of sleep. Breathe with me now, not to relax, not to fix anything, just to be present with whatever you're feeling. In through your nose, notice the sensation. Out through your mouth, let it be as it is. If there's resistance in your body, acknowledge it. If there's tension, let it stay. You don't have to force anything to change. Sometimes safety comes not from trying to relax, but from allowing yourself to feel exactly as you feel. So what does a nervous system need to feel safe enough to sleep? It needs evidence, not logical arguments, not reassurance in words, but repeated, consistent experiences that say, when I let go, nothing bad happens. When I rest, I am still safe. When I am vulnerable, I am still protected. This evidence accumulates slowly, over time, through many nights where you allow yourself to rest, even poorly, even partially, and wake up okay. Through moments in the day where you practice softening, even for a few seconds, and notice that the world doesn't collapse. Through building a sense of safety, not just in your environment, but in your own body, in your ability to notice sensation without needing to control it, to feel emotion without needing to fix it. This is the work of healing hypervigilance, not forcing relaxation,
but gently, patiently teaching your nervous system that it's allowed to rest. There's a therapeutic approach that addresses this directly. It's called somatic therapy, and it works with the body's responses rather than just the mind's thoughts. Because your resistance to rest isn't a cognitive problem, it's a nervous system problem, a physiological pattern that lives in the tissues, in the muscles, in the automatic responses that happen below conscious awareness. And changing it requires working at that level, through movement, through breath, through slowly expanding your capacity to tolerate relaxation without triggering alarm. It's like teaching a frightened animal that the world is safe. You can't tell them with words, you can only show them, gently, repeatedly, until their nervous system begins to believe it. So, if rest feels dangerous to you, if relaxation triggers anxiety, if sleep feels like losing control, know this: you are not broken. You are not failing at something that should be simple. Your nervous system is doing exactly what it was trained to do: protect you, keep you safe, keep you ready for danger. It just hasn't learned yet that the danger has passed, that you're somewhere different now, that vigilance is no longer necessary for survival. And teaching it this truth takes time, takes patience, takes countless small moments of allowing, of softening, of proving that vulnerability doesn't always lead to harm. But beneath this protective resistance, beneath the hypervigilance and the fear of letting go, there's another layer we haven't fully explored yet: the exhaustion that runs deeper than sleep deprivation, the weariness that comes not from lack of rest, but from the constant, invisible work of simply holding yourself together.
Chapter 8. The Hidden Exhaustion Beneath Anxiety. You're not just tired from lack of sleep. You're tired from the constant vigilance, the mental loops, the tension your body holds all day. This is nervous system fatigue, a deep exhaustion that sleep alone cannot fix. Let's uncover the invisible work your body does that leaves you drained. You wake up tired. This isn't surprising. You didn't sleep well. But here's what's strange. Even when you do sleep, even on the rare nights when you manage 6 or 7 hours, you still wake up exhausted. The tiredness doesn't match the hours. The fatigue runs deeper than sleep deprivation can explain. You might think, maybe I'm not sleeping deeply enough. Maybe the quality is poor. And that's part of it. But there's something else. Something that happens not just at night, but all day long. An invisible drain on your energy. A constant expenditure of resources that you don't consciously notice, but that leaves you depleted by evening, sometimes by afternoon, sometimes from the moment you wake. This is nervous system fatigue, and it's one of the most overlooked aspects of chronic anxiety. Tonight, we explore this hidden exhaustion, the tiredness that comes not from what you do, but from what your body carries while you do it. Let's start with a simple truth. Vigilance is exhausting. When your nervous system is in a state of heightened alert, scanning for threats, monitoring your environment, staying ready for danger, it burns energy constantly. Think of it like leaving all the lights on in a house. Even if no one is home, even if nothing is happening, electricity is being consumed, resources are being used. Your nervous system works the same way. When you're anxious, your sympathetic nervous system stays partially activated. Your muscles hold tension. Your heart rate stays slightly elevated. Your breath remains shallow. Your brain stays alert, processing, monitoring, preparing. All of this requires energy. ATP, the cellular fuel your body produces, glucose, oxygen, neurotransmitters, hormones. And because this activation is chronic, not a brief response to an acute threat, but a constant state that lasts hours, days, weeks, the energy drain is enormous. You're working even when you're sitting still. You're running even when you're resting. Your body is in constant motion beneath the surface. Let's talk about muscle tension specifically. When you're anxious, your muscles tighten. This is part of the fight-or-flight response. Your body is preparing to move quickly, to respond to danger. But in chronic anxiety, this tension never fully releases. Your shoulders stay raised, your jaw stays clenched, your abdomen stays tight, your hands stay curled. You might not even notice it anymore. It's become your baseline, your normal. But holding muscle tension requires continuous muscular contraction, and continuous contraction requires continuous energy expenditure. It's like holding a weight out in front of you. At first, it doesn't feel that hard, but hold it for an hour, for a day, for weeks, and your muscles scream with exhaustion. This is what your body is doing when you hold chronic tension. It's working constantly to maintain a state of readiness that never gets used. And by the end of the day, you're drained, not from physical exertion, but from the invisible effort of simply holding yourself together. Then there's the mental exhaustion. Anxiety isn't just a thought pattern or a physical sensation, it's an emotion. And emotions, particularly difficult ones, require energy to process and regulate. When you feel anxious, you're also working to manage that anxiety, to keep it from overwhelming you, to function despite it, to present yourself as calm, capable, together, even when internally you're struggling. This emotional regulation is invisible work. No one sees it, no one acknowledges it. Sometimes even you don't recognize it. But it's there, constant, draining. It's the effort of smiling when you're scared, of participating in conversations when your mind is elsewhere, of pretending everything is fine when your nervous system is screaming that it's not. This is called emotional labor, and it's one of the most exhausting aspects of living with chronic anxiety. Breathe with me now. Let's acknowledge this invisible work you've been doing. In through your nose, gently. Out through your mouth, softly. Feel the weight you've been carrying, the tension, the vigilance, the effort of managing, monitoring, holding yourself together. You don't have to fix it, just notice it, honor it, acknowledge how hard you've been working, even when it looked like you were just sitting still. Now, let's talk about why sleep alone can't fix this exhaustion. Sleep restores many things. It clears metabolic waste from your brain. It consolidates memories. It allows your body to repair tissues and regulate hormones. But sleep cannot undo chronic nervous system activation. It cannot release deeply held muscle tension. It cannot reset a vigilance system that's been running for months or years. Because the problem isn't just that you're tired. The problem is that your nervous system is stuck in a state that burns energy faster than rest can replenish it. It's like trying to fill a bathtub while the drain is still open. The water keeps flowing out as fast as you pour it in. For true restoration, you need more than sleep. You need to address the drain itself, to quiet the nervous system, to release the chronic tension, to reduce the cognitive and emotional load you're carrying. This requires not just rest, but a different kind of rest. Not just hours in bed, but moments throughout the day where your nervous system can actually down-regulate, where vigilance can soften, where the constant work can pause. There's a concept in psychology called allostatic load. It refers to the cumulative burden of chronic stress on the body. When your stress response is activated repeatedly, when recovery periods are insufficient, the wear and tear accumulates. Your body stays in a state of heightened arousal, and over time, this takes a toll. High allostatic load is linked to fatigue, immune dysfunction, cognitive impairment, and a host of other health issues. And the insidious thing about allostatic load is that it builds slowly. You don't notice it accumulating. You just notice one day that you're exhausted in a way that sleep doesn't fix. This is what happens with chronic anxiety. The constant activation, the persistent vigilance, the ongoing tension, they create an allostatic load that leaves you depleted at a fundamental level. So when you feel tired all the time, even when you sleep, understand this. You're not imagining it. You're not weak. You're not lazy. You're experiencing the accumulated exhaustion of a nervous system that has been working overtime, often for years, to keep you safe, to manage anxiety, to hold you together. The tiredness you feel is real. It's physiological. It's the natural consequence of invisible work that your body has been doing every single day. And healing this exhaustion requires more than just getting enough sleep, though sleep is essential. It requires addressing the root, the chronic activation, the persistent vigilance, the patterns that keep your nervous system in a state of readiness, even when there's nothing to be ready for. But to address these patterns, we must first understand what they're trying to tell us, because sometimes exhaustion isn't just a symptom to fix, but a message we've been too tired to hear.
Chapter 9. The Wisdom Your Body Holds in Stillness.
What if your sleeplessness is trying to tell you something? What if your body is asking you to slow down, to listen, to change something about how you're living? Tonight, we'll explore sleep not as a problem to fix, but as a messenger carrying wisdom you've been too tired to hear. We've spent this journey exploring why you can't sleep, the nervous system dysregulation, the chemical imbalances, the ancient fears, the cycles that feed themselves, the exhaustion beneath the exhaustion. All of these are real. All of these matter. All of these help explain the mechanics of sleeplessness. But tonight we ask a different question. Not why can't you sleep, but what is your sleeplessness trying to tell you? Because sometimes symptoms aren't just problems to solve. Sometimes they're messages, signals from your body that something needs attention, that something in your life, in your patterns, in how you're moving through the world, needs to change. And your inability to sleep might be the loudest way your body knows how to say, stop, listen, something here is not working. Let's start with a simple observation. Your body is wise. It knows things your conscious mind doesn't. It tracks patterns you're not aware of. It notices when you're pushing too hard, carrying too much, ignoring your needs. And when your body can't get your attention through subtle signals, through mild tension, through gentle fatigue, through quiet discomfort, it speaks louder. It creates symptoms that you cannot ignore: pain, illness, sleeplessness. Not to punish you, but to protect you, to force you to stop, to slow down, to pay attention to what you've been avoiding. Your insomnia might be one of those loud signals, a message that says, the way you're living is not sustainable. Something has to change. What might your sleeplessness be telling you? Perhaps it's saying, you're carrying too much. You need to put something down. Maybe you're overcommitted, overscheduled, trying to meet everyone's needs while neglecting your own, saying yes when you mean no, giving more than you have to give. And your body, which cannot sustain this pace indefinitely, is refusing to let you rest until you acknowledge the burden. It's as if your nervous system is saying, I cannot allow you to sleep because if I do, you'll wake up tomorrow and do this all over again, and I don't have the resources for that. The sleeplessness becomes a boundary your body enforces when you won't enforce it yourself. Or perhaps your sleeplessness is saying you're not addressing something that needs to be addressed. Maybe there's a relationship that isn't working, a job that's draining you, a fear you're avoiding, a grief you haven't processed. During the day, you can distract yourself, you can stay busy, you can push the uncomfortable feelings aside and focus on tasks, responsibilities, other people's needs. But at night, when the world goes quiet, when there's nowhere to hide, those unaddressed things come forward. Your mind races because there's unfinished emotional business. Your body stays tense because there's something it's trying to protect you from or prepare you for. and your inability to sleep becomes the space where all of this finally gets your attention. Breathe with me now. Let's create a moment of stillness where you can listen. In through your nose, slow and deep. Out through your mouth, soft and complete. Ask yourself gently, without judgment, what is my body trying to tell me? What have I been avoiding? What needs to change? You don't need to answer right away. Just hold the question. Let it sit. Let your body speak if it's ready. Here's what makes this perspective both difficult and liberating. If your sleeplessness is a message, then fixing it isn't just about sleep hygiene or relaxation techniques or medication, though those things can help. Fixing it requires listening to what the message is, and then courageously making changes in your life that honor what your body is asking for. This might mean setting boundaries, saying no, leaving a situation that's harming you, seeking support, slowing down, prioritizing rest not as a luxury but as a necessity. It might mean addressing the emotional work you've been postponing, the conversation you've been avoiding, the grief you've been holding, the fear you've been denying. These changes are hard. Sometimes they feel impossible, but without them, your sleeplessness may persist, not because your body is broken, but because the message hasn't been received. There's a concept in medicine called symptom as metaphor, the idea that physical symptoms sometimes represent emotional or psychological conflicts that haven't been resolved. Sleeplessness, in this light, can be understood as a metaphor for not being able to let go, not being able to trust, not being able to rest in your own life. It's your body saying, I don't feel safe enough to surrender. I don't trust that rest is possible. I don't believe that things will be okay if I stop watching, stop managing, stop holding everything together. And until you create conditions in your life where safety is real, where trust is earned, where rest is genuinely possible, your body will continue to resist. Not out of stubbornness, but out of wisdom. Out of the deep intelligence that knows rest is only safe when your life supports it. This doesn't mean you're to blame for your insomnia. This doesn't mean you've caused it through poor choices or weak boundaries or unresolved emotions. Life is complex. Circumstances are often beyond your control, and sometimes the conditions that create sleeplessness were created by things that happened to you, not by you. But what it does mean is this: you have more agency than you might think. Your sleeplessness is not a life sentence. It's not a permanent condition. It's a pattern, a response, a signal. And patterns can change. Responses can shift. Signals can be heard and honored. This requires courage, honesty, a willingness to look at your life and ask, what needs to change? What am I holding that I need to release? What boundary do I need to set? What truth do I need to speak? These are not easy questions. The answers are not always clear, and the changes they require can feel overwhelming. But they are also the path towards healing, towards rest, towards a life where sleep is possible because your nervous system finally believes it's safe to let go. So as you lie here tonight, perhaps still unable to sleep, consider this. Your sleeplessness is not your enemy. It's not a failure. It's not evidence that you're broken. It's a messenger, a teacher, a signal from the wisest part of you trying to get your attention, trying to guide you towards something your conscious mind hasn't yet recognized. And the question is not how to silence the messenger, but how to listen to the message, and what might become possible if you finally, courageously, allow yourself to hear it and respond.
Chapter 10. The Gentle Path Back to Rest. You've traveled through the science of sleepless nights. You've met the nervous system, the chemistry, the ancient fears, the loops. Now we return, softer, wiser, with understanding of why rest has felt so far away. And with that understanding comes the possibility
however small, of finally allowing yourself to sleep. We've walked a long journey together tonight, through the paradox of exhausted wakefulness, through the two systems fighting for control inside you, through the chemistry that dances out of rhythm and the ancient fears encoded in your nervous system. We've explored the racing mind at bedtime, the darkness that triggers vigilance, the cycles that feed themselves, the way rest can feel dangerous when your nervous system has learned that vulnerability is not safe. We've acknowledged the hidden exhaustion beneath anxiety, the invisible work that drains you. And we've listened to the wisdom your body holds in stillness, the messages your sleeplessness has been trying to deliver. Now it's time to come back, to return to this moment, to this breath, to the possibility, however tentative, of rest. Not with force, not with pressure, but with gentleness, with understanding, with the recognition that healing happens slowly, in small steps, through patience rather than urgency. Let's breathe together one more time, slowly, softly. In through your nose, feel the cool air enter. Out through your mouth, feel the warmth leave. Notice where you are right now, the surface beneath you, the temperature of the air, the weight of your body finally allowed to rest, even if sleep hasn't arrived yet. You are here, you are present, and that in itself is enough. Here's what you've learned tonight. Your sleeplessness is not random, it is not meaningless, it is not proof that you're broken. It is your body's intelligent response to conditions it has been living with, chronic stress, unresolved vigilance, a nervous system that hasn't felt safe enough to fully rest. The racing heart, the tense muscles, the circling thoughts, these are not attacks. They are attempts at protection, your body doing what it was designed to do, keep you safe, keep you ready, keep you vigilant when it believes vigilance is necessary. Understanding this changes everything, because when you stop fighting your sleeplessness, when you stop seeing it as an enemy to defeat, you can begin to work with it, to listen to it, to address the deeper patterns that created it. The path back to rest is not linear. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't follow a simple formula of do these 5 things and you'll sleep perfectly. It happens in moments, in small shifts, in the gradual retraining of a nervous system that has been on high alert for too long. It happens when you practice during the day, sending signals of safety to your body, through slow breaths, through gentle movement, through moments of stillness where you prove to your nervous system that nothing bad happens when you soften. It happens when you begin to address the deeper issues, the boundaries that need setting, the relationships that need healing or ending, the pace of life that needs slowing, the emotional work that needs attention. These changes don't happen quickly. They require courage, but they are essential, because without them, your nervous system will continue to resist rest, knowing that the conditions creating stress haven't changed. Breathe with me again. Let's practice that signal of safety. In through your nose, deep into your belly. Out through your mouth, longer than the inhale. Feel your nervous system respond. Feel the subtle shift. It might be small, it might be barely noticeable, but it's there. This is your parasympathetic nervous system engaging. This is the brake beginning to work. This is safety being felt, even if only for a moment. And moments add up, breath by breath, night by night, until rest becomes possible again. Here's what I want you to know as we close this journey. You will sleep again. Maybe not tonight, maybe not tomorrow night, but the capacity for rest is still within you. It hasn't been lost, it's only been buried beneath layers of activation, vigilance, and fear. And as you gently,
patiently address those layers, as you work with your nervous system, not against it, as you honor the messages your body has been sending, as you create conditions of genuine safety, rest will return. Not perfectly, not on a schedule you can control, but it will return. Because your body wants to sleep, it needs to sleep, and when it finally believes it's safe to do so, when the conditions allow it, when the vigilance can soften, it will. So tonight, as you lie here, perhaps still awake, perhaps drifting, perhaps somewhere in between, let go of the pressure, let go of the effort, let go of the need for sleep to happen now, in this moment, on your terms. Instead, simply be here, in this breath, in this softness, in this gentleness towards yourself. You've been working so hard, trying so hard, holding so much, and maybe, just maybe, tonight is the night you allow yourself to stop, to rest in a different way, to find peace not in achieving sleep, but in being okay with wherever you are. Because sometimes the path back to rest begins not with sleeping, but with accepting your wakefulness with kindness, with meeting yourself exactly where you are, without judgment, without frustration, without the demand that you be anywhere other than here. If this journey has brought you comfort, if these words have helped you understand yourself a little better, I invite you to stay with us at Soft Light Theory. Subscribe to this channel for more episodes in our series, Emotional Healing and Neuroscience, Gentle Ways to Rewire Your Mind. Like this video if it resonated with you. Share it with someone who might be lying awake right now, searching for understanding. And leave a comment below. Tell us where you're listening from, what time it is for you, and know that you're not alone in this. More episodes are coming. More explorations of how your mind and body work together, more gentle science to help you heal. Until next time, may you find rest in whatever form it comes. May you be gentle with yourself, and may you know deep in your heart that you are worthy of peace, of ease, and of the deep restorative sleep your body so desperately needs. Good night. And thank you for trusting me with your sleepless hours and your tender heart.